All right, so first show, if you want to even call it a show. Basically, look, I want to record talks with you because we have five of these talks a day, and we talk to ourselves more than we talk to our wives. So, and we always talk about player development. I might as well share it with people. Today, what I want to go over, I think it's the most important thing because most of the internet's filled with young coaches trying to get some direction of how to get better, how to move on, how to get in a career of coaching. You and I have been robbing money in coaching for a long time. We've been staying in coaching. We didn't play in the NBA. We don't have a father that did it. We didn't come from a coaching tree. We just basically made our life. Now, look, it's not like we're John Wooden or anything, but we made a career in basketball. We made a living in basketball for over 20 years each. You a lot longer than me. Let's just sort of talk to young coaches about the importance of some things that they should be keying in on. You get a lot of young coaches. I do my consulting with the Hoop Consultants with it, but I want you to go first. Let's talk about some of the important things that young coaches need to be doing to sort of develop their craft and, moving forward in their career. You go ahead.
Okay. First of all, most young coaches, and I was probably like this, they're all kind of looking for the next thing. How can I move up the next rung of the ladder? Whether it be from junior high to high school to college to, pro. So first and foremost is that's usually in the coach's mind somewhere. That's in the back, maybe in the front of their mind, maybe the back of their mind. But the biggest mistake that I see a lot of young coaches make is they're not coaching where their feet are. And what I mean by that they're not spending all their time and investing all their energy where their feet are and where they're coaching at that time.
We're gonna do a timer. By the way, this new clock, this new camera that I got is ridiculous. I mean, I probably should have a cloudy camera because I'm ugly as hell. But this is what we're gonna do. In homage to Michael Jordan, we're gonna do 23 minutes and 23 seconds.
Perfect.
And we're gonna set the clock to for this segment. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. And just my advice would be to do the best job with the job you have, and don't worry about what the next job is. And a lot of coaches spend time on worrying about where am I going to go next, instead of really being invested in where their feet are at the time.
Yeah, here's my problem with young coaches, and this is my biggest thing. And I understand the sexiness to it when you're sort of coming up. You want to, when I was growing up in coaching, it was everybody wanted a grad assistant job, right? They want to go to grad assistant job, the grad assistant job, the grad assistant job. They want to go to the ACC, they want to go to the Big East, they want to go to the Pac-10, whatever it is, SEC. And in those jobs, you get to see Coach K every day if you're at Duke, right? And you might have some responsibility, but you don't have a lot of responsibility. You're not working with players. You're doing administrative things probably. You're probably doing helping people with scouts and things, but you don't get experience actually doing anything. So it's not bad to get a grad assistant job. Look, you get your education paid for, you're around a program, great. But at some point, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to get experience doing something, make mistakes, be bad. At first, but you get all these drills and stuff that you learn on the way, but you got to be able to do it. Work out high school kids, be a high school coach, be a small college coach, get, cut your teeth in that, make your mistakes just like a player would. And then you move, you get better, you continue to network, and then you go on. They think they got to go to these MBA internships, all these internships, all these grad assistant jobs. They look great on a resume. You get, socks with Jerry West on them. That's awesome. But you don't really get any experience doing it. Yeah, you learn. But I mean, it's like that guy that goes to those three, we all grew up with them. You go to these coaching clinics, you see the same guy at every coaching clinic, but he doesn't coach anywhere, or she doesn't coach anywhere. All right, what are you doing to use this knowledge to help somebody with? Or are you just doing it to say that I was doing these things without actually having experience? I think experience is what will get you through the night. What do you think, Seth?
I think you're right on the money. The biggest thing you can do to improve as a young coach, which may lead to you moving up, is to get reps coaching.
Mhm.
get experience working with players individually or as a coach. Young coaches always ask me, what should I do? And my reply is, go out and get as much coaching experience as you can, whether that be AAU, summer camps, high school, freshman, JV, whatever it is. You got to. It's like being a better shooter. You got to build your reps, and the more you work with players, individually or as a coach, of a team, the better you're going to be. You got to get your hands dirty. You got to make mistakes. You got to learn how to deal with players, and that's huge to me. That's a big piece of advice that I give almost all young coaches: is go do it, go
Yeah.
do something.
Like young coaches should be progression wise. And again, there's a million ways to do this. Not my story or your story isn't the only way to do it.
Right.
And obviously it's a generational thing too, as there's more opportunities for people, but like young coaches, to me, three things: get knowledge with mentors that actually teach you the right way to do things. Actually get experience doing the things, to get better at it, even if you're bad at it at first. Get on the court with players. And the third thing is, spend time with players. I don't like that sweat equity bullshit. I think that's a bullshit saying, sweat equity, because it doesn't mean anything. It's just words. You got to spend time with players. You got to know what makes them tick. You got to know what they like, what they don't like. Every player is a little different. I get it. But if you're not comfortable around players and have presence with them, if you don't learn from somebody to teach you the right things, and then you don't get on the court and actually do them, especially if you're in player development, then what are you doing? I think those three are the fundamental building blocks, and then you get better over time. But you got to have those three. If you're not comfortable around players, you don't learn from anybody, and you don't actually, practice these things to know what works and what doesn't for your coaching style. I think it's going to be hard for you to really move up and develop.
Yeah, and you mentioned something there about presence, and you and I have always talked about, bad Christmas. And a bad Christmas is, no presents.
No presents under the tree, brother.
So and how do you build presence with players? Well, knowledge, okay, being knowledgeable about your subject area, building relationships with players that are not phony, because, our guys can smell BS a mile away. And, at times you have to have the sweat equity, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is to develop those relationships where they know that you're caring about what's going on, and they know that you know your stuff.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah. I think it's an equal balance of definitely know what you're doing. I mean, look, I'm a grotesque mutant, when you look at me in person, right? And every player that I ever worked with, from a junior high school kid up to an NBA Hall of Famer, they all give me the look up and down and like, why are you on the court with me right now? And you got to know your stuff, but you also got to be able to invest some time in talking to the player a little bit, and getting to know them a little bit. And look, you're not always going to be on the same page of, like relating to the player that you're with, but like spending some time asking them how they're doing, asking them about their life a little bit, asking them about what they like, what they don't like, give them some input of the workout, talk to them about things, ask them questions. And, like you said, develop real relationships, because if you don't have that presence, players is going to blow you off. You know them. We've all worked with them. People that are geniuses that know every offensive set, every defensive set, everything about basketball. They're very brilliant and very smart, but they've never spent enough time around people and sort of having a warm sense of like being able to develop that relationship with a player. And no one wants to work with that coach, because they just don't have that presence with them to be able to relate that and teach that to actual people.
Yeah. And something just went through my head. And one of the big ways to develop that is you got to be you. And I see a lot of young coaches, and I was this way when I started out as a coach. I didn't know who I was. I wasn't comfortable with, what I was doing, and I tried to be somebody else. And I grew up, where everybody would try to be Bobby Knight,
Yeah,
a man-to-man defense and a hard ass and all that. But you got to be yourself. Just be yourself, because everybody else is taken.
I agree.
You got to be who you are, And the quicker you can really discover who it is that you are and what you're comfortable with, the easier it's going to be to develop relationships with players. And one of the things we always talk about is players want consistency.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know that coach that walks through the doors is the same guy every day.
Mm-hmm.
They got too many inconsistencies in their lives. They
Right.
don't need the coach to be wondering, what kind of mood is he in today? Where's his head at today? Consistency is huge for players. They got to know you're going to be the same guy every day.
And to add to that point, Sev, and maybe this got me in trouble in coaching, but like, it doesn't matter how the player is playing or if you're winning or losing.
Right.
You need to be the same every day.
Yeah.
Like, because I see too much where coaches treat players differently if they're, and I told NBA players this all the time when I was working with them. The player that doesn't play all year and no one really, gives them much, got much face time or really, I wouldn't say care about them, but spend time with them. And then they go, in a cold gym in February that like, you're on the road, you're down 18 in the first half and they come in, they make 4 shots. And then there's like a monumental sprint the next day with coaches to work with that player. Like that is the inconsistency that I'm talking about. Like you treat them the same regardless of how they're playing. You keep them ready. And regardless if they were 9 for 9, 0 for 9, or didn't play at all, that you treat them the same and your workout's the same, your teaching's the same, because that consistency is important. And I think that, it shouldn't matter if you went in player development. Look, if you're the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and you're a little moody, or head coach and you're moody if you win or lose regardless, that's to be expected a little bit. When you're a development coach and you're working with players, especially the guys who don't play a lot, and you're going to treat them you're going to treat them based if you win or lose or how they're playing. I just think that the player is going to see that as phony pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. What other things, Seb, do you see, in the young profession of coaching, how these guys are going to move up? Let's talk about, because like you and I hate networking, not hate it, but we're not really huge fans of it. We'd rather have substance.
Right.
And I think networking is an important part of it. But what do you see, Sev, in like how do you sort of put the learning part and getting this substance and presence, also keep your options open by marketing and getting yourself out there? Like how do you feel that those things should intertwine?
Well, networking has kind of always been important, but it's just changed throughout the years. It used to be way back. It used to be what you know. What you know could get you a job. Then it used to be who you know could help get you a job. It seems now it's more who knows you.
Right.
To be able to get you a job. So networking has always been important when it comes to moving up and getting jobs, and you have to do it. You and I aren't big fans of it. We have a network of, like all coaches do, but it's pretty tight. It's not huge. It's pretty small circle. So, but nowadays you have to use it. Social media is so big. You have to use it, but you got to be very careful with your network. People that you trust, it's huge. Mentors that you trust is really huge when it comes to networking. And I'm not saying don't play the game, because sometimes you have to play the game, but always remember to be genuine and never change who you are when it comes to, the networking. Don't be a phony.
90% of the young coaches, let's be honest, they want to go to the NBA. All right.
Yeah.
If that's right, if that's wrong, whatever. Like I said, they think that like your life changes when you get a pair of Jerry West socks, and believe me, it doesn't. It probably gets a little bit more complicated. Let's be honest. But like, okay, so pandemic aside, obviously we're going through some things where the whole calendar's changed. If there was no pandemic and it was just regular schedule, and you're a young kid, maybe you're a grad assistant and you don't know where your next job, but you want to go to the NBA. You're a grad assistant, say in the Pac-10. You're coming out of UCLA, right? And how are you going to, like, what would you suggest a young kid to do with networking? Like, are there clinics he should go to? Are there camps they should go to? Networking places where all these people are going to be at? what would you start with? If so, let's say we're in March, they just got eliminated. Now they're in the real world. What are you going to do?
Well, if their goal is to be somewhere in the NBA,
sure. Mm-hmm.
I think a good piece of advice was try to get involved with pre-draft workouts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, find somebody that you know, or just somehow get in touch with whoever it is that runs pre-draft workouts. And you and I have both been part of that. And it's usually like a three-month process. Try to get involved as an intern. Mm-hmm. and somebody's pre-draft workouts where you're just helping the main guys, chasing balls, learning a little bit about draft workouts, how pros work. So that would be one area. The next thing would be to try to get involved with camps,
mm-hmm.
As many camps as you can. I mean camps with high school kids. I know you want to be in the NBA, but again, you have to continue to work on your craft. Mm-hmm. So as many camps as you can get involved with where you actually have to physically get on the floor and teach.
Right.
That's huge. So those two things I would probably start with.
What about the summertime? What would you be doing besides the draft stuff?
Yeah, I'd be working out high school kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'd work out local college kids.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you're getting reps at your craft.
What about summer league and things like that?
Yeah, summer league, you and I joke about it. When you go to Vegas summer league, it's unbelievable. There'll be 30 coaches on each team, and we're not exaggerating either.
No. There's a million, but
it's really like 20, and if you could get involved as an intern for summer league and you're not going to do a whole lot, but you're just kind of going to be around the film, the players, the preparation, the practices, and maybe that can open your eyes and you can learn something from that.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, being involved with the team is going to be hard, but I would think that going to summer league, sitting in the stands, figuring out how the thing works, eyes open, take some notes on players and maybe the sets that they run or whatever you're trying to get into, offense, defense, whatever. And then because there's all sorts of NBA and D League people, being able to interact with those guys and sort of, meet people and, like for down the line, at least meet them and try to communicate with them and talk to them and start your network of people. Cause obviously you're trying to get to the NBA. Like if I was trying to get to the NBA, Sev, I would do all of that you just talked about. I would go to the Portsmouth Invitational. It's usually in April. That's a camp with all seniors that it's more just games, but there's all NBA people there. So it's a good way to network. Again, watch what's going on in the court, watch the whole process, take your notes down, have something to talk about. Go to summer league, do the pre-draft stuff, go to summer league. Maybe you try to intern with a team, but you network with people. And, I think that's a good way to, go out to the bars at night, go out to, try to, you get that virtual scout school,
I mean, how many times have you and I, through our years at the summer league, gotten a text from a young coach that we've never met. Hey, can you meet for a Starbucks?
Sure.
Can you meet in the morning? We've done that a ton.
Yeah.
And so stuff like that. And most coaches, they're pretty accessible. Most guys will, agree to meet with you because they were like us at one point,
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, and a couple of things with young coaches that, don't try to maximize the relationship in 24 hours. They're like fish in the water. Don't scare them away. Like, get their contact, maybe have a little light conversation, have some contact, and then maybe a month after summer league or a couple of weeks after summer league, you text them or email them or whatever. Hey, thanks for meeting with me. I appreciate it. Hey, look, I'm going to, I know a lot about the players in a certain league or whatever. I'll give you some information from time to time. If you need anything, let me know. And then maybe every few weeks you check in. What I don't like what young coaches do is they'll meet a coach. Either they'll ask him for a job right away or in 24 hours, which that will scare him away. And then they don't talk either they'll ask him for a job or they won't. And then they won't talk to him for 9 months. And then maybe that guy goes to a job and then they'll be like, oh, I'm going to hit this coach up. Why didn't he hit me back? I'm like, wait a minute. You talked to him 9 months ago. he barely knew you. He didn't know you back then. You asked him for a job for 24 hours. That's a great move, by the way. And then like in 9 months, he hasn't heard from you. And then you hit him up again because he had a job and he could help you with something. You've never done anything for him in these 9 months. Like, why weren't you sending him like notes on players, notes on workouts or whatever, and try to have some interaction? Because if you're not in their Rolodex or their phone when they get a job, they're not going to hire you and they don't get to know you. You try to maximize the relationship in 24 hours and then you ghost for 9 months. And now you're trying to get back to them after not. It's remarkable to me that young people don't take so much time to sort of interact with people like a relationship with a girl. Like, it's got to be stable. You can't be that aggressive right away. And then if you don't get what you want in 9 months, you try to go back to it. It's tough, but you got to be able to nurture a relationship.
Yeah. And one of the things you mentioned that coaches really like is if wherever you live in the country, whatever area you're in, say you're in Southern California, coaches and people on NBA teams, they really like information on players in that area. Mm-hmm. So as much as you can know, say you live in LA, as much as you can know about the players at SC, UCLA, Long Beach, Fullerton, Pepperdine, LMU, as much as you can know about those players in that certain area and just send them notes during the year. I think the coaches really appreciate that. And another thing, and guys never do it anymore, and I'm guilty of not doing it, handwritten notes and letters.
Yeah. Agreed.
Where you put a stamp on an envelope and you actually put it in that mailbox. I'm kind of old school when it comes to that. And every now and then I appreciate getting handwritten letters, and I like sending out, we have note cards for our team, and I just, I'd fill out the note cards and send them. Instead of, you don't always have to text or email or whatever, DM, whatever they call that stuff. Sometimes an actual handwritten note goes a long way.
Yeah, and these young guys got to understand that, like, it doesn't have to happen by a certain age.
No.
Like all these people are thinking that they have to be at a certain level at a certain age. Like, I've done studies on NBA front offices and coaching staffs, and a lot of these people, a lot of them interned or whatever, but a lot of them were college coaches, junior college coaches, high school coaches, and I call it keeping your head above water. Like with me, I kept my head above water and I just did a bunch of different things. I remember I started the scouting service, free scouting service to NBA people. I got a bunch of these email addresses, Mark Cuban, one of them, right? And I got letterhead and I would email like SIDs and stuff to get scouting credentials to these games. So I was in Boston, so I did Big East, Atlantic 10, some smaller conferences like the America East. And then I had the CBA that was, the D League. Before the D League, there was a team in Hartford, Connecticut. So yeah. I would go to all these games, write up all these reports, rankings of players, information, watch pregame, watch their games, and send it out. And like, it's funny, I met at the CBA back-to-back weeks. I met Scott Howard, that was starting out scouting with Washington, a long-time scout in the NBA. I've met him, good friend.
One of the kings of tomfoolery.
King of tomfoolery.
Great guy.
Chris Grant, that ended up being, a front office GM in the league, and Mike Brown, who was scouting for Washington again at the time, and then went on to coach and be a head coach in the NBA for a while. So you never know who you're going to meet. And not only are you just keeping your head above water, and then I got my shot at like 28, to work with the Celtics, but like doing all this stuff, keeping your head above water, substitute teaching, doing all this, and maybe getting lucky. But like a lot of these guys, a lot of these people trying to do this, like if they don't make it by the 25, they just want to quit and go to the real world. Like if you really want to be in basketball, you got to learn your craft, continue to do it, and, hang in there for a while. But you got to just keep your head above water. I think that's really a really important part of it, that they don't understand that it's going to take some time sometimes to crack into this thing.
Yeah. Another piece of advice that I always give young coaches is don't get married.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not that being married's not great because, but you better, have a wife that's very understanding about what you're getting into and what you aspire to do, because it's not the real world. You know, it's a lot different than 9 to 5. And so if you can avoid it, you know, don't get married. It can really help move you up quicker, I believe. And if you are married, hopefully you have a wife that's really understanding, and it knows exactly what comes with this basketball coaching stuff. Because I've seen both sides of it. I've been on a side where it was really difficult, and now, you know, I'm on the other side where there's a ton of support with everything I do. And I didn't get into the NBA till I was 50.
Yeah. And
it's nothing I aspired to do. And I would have never done it without the support of my wife. She's like, when I got my opportunity, I said, you know, I can't do this. You know, I can't leave my family. And she pushed me, says, you got to do it. She goes, you'll regret it the rest of your life if you don't try it. So she was understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, for sure. Sev.
Well, what else? How much time we got, Sweet?
Oh, shoot. We're a little over, but we're okay. We're okay. But a majority of the thing that these guys got to understand too is, like, a lot of the stuff you're going to do when you're young in basketball, you're not going to get paid any or little money, you know, and it's a lot of work. Like you said, it's not 9 to 5. It's taking long drives to tournaments. It's all day. It's in the gym. It's, you know, doing all this, and a lot of the stuff you're going to do. Like, there are countless times I had to work out pro guys or college kids or whatever and not get paid for it. But you get better. Like, you learning how to deal with older players, or, you know, because a lot of times I would be working out guys that were 28 and I'd be 25. You know, working out older players is a great experience. You know, when a player, when a guy shits on you or goes at you, like, you got to learn how to, you know, how to have that presence and sort of push back a little bit. But a lot of the stuff they're going to be doing is keeping their head above water for little or no money. Like you said, the marriage side could get affected a little bit by that, you know, because, you know, you expect to make money and make a living, but a lot of times you're not doing that unless you're in a lucky situation.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other pearls of wisdom, Sev, before we log off?
You know, no matter what level you're at, if you're really happy at that level, don't mess with happy. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're happy being a Division III coach, you know, don't mess with that. Mm-hmm. If you're happy being a high school coach, you know, don't mess with happy. Now, if you're unhappy and you aspire to other things, then, you know, go for it. You know, but a lot of times in coaching, we just we don't understand that being happy where you are is really important. Yeah. Don't mess with happy.
No, because there's sets of problems everywhere. You leave in one set of problems for another set of problems. Like, there's problems at every level. You know, you got to be happy. I think you definitely got to be happy doing that. So that's cool. Well, I think I'm good. I don't think I have much more to give to this conversation, but
all right.
Sev, love you. I think this was good. Hopefully they'll get some value out of it. I think it's good to have these real conversations about, you know, how to help coaches, and that's what it's about. It's not all this fluff and all these John Wooden quotes. You know, I think it's real stuff that they could take into their craft to try to help them, you know, do what they want to do in this thing.
Yeah, we're just, you know, and hopefully we didn't sound too critical of young coaches, but we're just trying to be honest and let young coaches know kind of what they have ahead of them if they want to, you know, try to climb the ladder. And I'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, as Aristotle always says, to be or not to be, All right, brother. I'll talk at you.